Somebody just asked me a couple of days ago on Twitter if I could give advice to designers from small towns about where to find clients. And this actually wasn't the first time that people asked me this question, so I want to address this today. Now, I just want to say that I'm living in Tel Aviv, Israel. This is not really a small town. I mean, it is compared to like large cities like New York, but it is a big town with opportunities. So I'm going to address this question in a way that if I would get started today and I didn't know anybody, but I was from a really small town, like 1,000 people, what would I do? And I think that what would I do is, I've been saying this a lot. I think the best way to get clients is through referrals from friends, past clients, people you know. And so I think that the best way to do this is through community, right? So getting to know people and making friends. Now, the way it worked out for me was I went to design school here and I met a lot of people. I had several jobs in an advertising agency, in a branding agency, in a startup. And so I made a lot of connection and friends, and that's really how I get most of my client work. Now, if I was to get started today and I can't go to a great design school, or I can't find a job because I live in a super small town that doesn't have design agencies or whatever, what would I do? I would still try to use community, but community that is not a local community, but rather like a global community, to make those new connections and friends. And I think that what's possible today is obviously wasn't possible maybe 10 years ago, but today we have so many opportunities. So I'm a part of several design groups on Facebook. Designer News is a community. There are communities on Reddit. YouTube obviously is another community. So there are so many places. I know I've been invited to a lot of Slack groups for freelancers and designers. I personally don't use Slack, but I know there's so many opportunities for, getting to know people and interact with people online today and making friends. Even if you're not in the same, global geographic location. Hell, I made friends with Travis from DevTips and McKinsey just through YouTube without even, we're living on different parts of the world, but we became friends. And when we had a chance, when Travis was here in Israel, we did meet up. So you can make friends and connections and grow a community of people who will eventually, over the long term, if they know you and trust you, they will probably refer work to you, even if you're not living in the same geographic location. And that's actually what's been enabling a lot of people what's been called today kind of a nomad lifestyle. So even people from big cities, right, living in New York, then they move to Bali or Thailand or whatever to work from there. So even though they're in a very remote small village, they have enough connections and enough inbound client requests so that they can live wherever they want. Now, this strategy takes time, and I don't suggest that you won't do anything until you grow your friendship, your connection, and develop that, because that really takes time. So until that point, you probably do need to get a job. And the question was, should I get work on Upwork? I personally never worked on Upwork, and I would probably never do that, just because that in my mind it's branded kind of as a low price platform, so I wouldn't want to work there. There are other platforms which are basically just the same, but positioned very upscale, and so the prices there are probably much higher. For one of them, for example, is Working Not Working for designers and creatives. But even if not, I would probably look for a job. Now, a job, like a full-time job, is probably even better at this point than trying to freelance, because when you work on a regular basis, you get to interact with a lot of people and make connection, and they get to know your work. And so when they move to different projects, they will call you back. And so I would perhaps think about getting a full-time job at a remote company, which is also becoming pretty popular these days. And so I go to a website called AngelList, for example, which kind of has a lot of startups on it, and there's a job board over there, and you can search for remote works over there. So I would probably look something around that area to find perhaps a remote work for a startup, start to get to know the people and work with people over there. In the meanwhile, develop relationship through online communities and make a bunch of friends that like me, that want to hang out with me, even virtually. Eventually, over the long term, I believe that's a strategy that's going to bring in great clients and good opportunities. So, hope that was helpful. I'm heading out right now for a meeting with a potential coach. Hope that'll be awesome. That was a really great session, even much better than expected. I didn't thought I would come out with kind of great takeaways, but I did. This guy is like really top-notch coaching like bank executives and like the biggest managers in the industry, and very expensive, but I have a gut feeling that I will be working with him because I think this is maybe a really great investment for me. Anyway, heading to the office to get some work done. Alright, overall a super productive day. I did a lot today. Did a video for the Envision YouTube channel, which should probably air sometime soon, I don't know when. Completed the mobile version for Prospero. Did a really great coaching session. I think I have a gut feeling we're going to work with this guy, and gave me a lot to think about, and I already did a bunch of calculations and stuff to think about. So anyway, pretty happy with this day. Hope you had a great one too, and I will catch you tomorrow.